Far beyond the borders of the human world, hidden beneath towering wildflowers and tumbling silver waterfalls, rests the tiny magical kingdom of Velmora. Castles nestle inside giant blooming lilies. Roads wind along smooth, polished tree roots. Butterflies carry messages between villages, and fireflies glow like warm lanterns after dark. At the very heart of the kingdom stands the glowing crystal palace, home to Queen Lyriana, who is no taller than a human thumb. Lyriana is kind and gentle, endlessly wise. She visits her villages every morning, listens to farmers' worries about their crops, comforts children scared of storms, and remembers every elder's name. Her people adore her completely. But despite all the love she receives, she carries a quiet, deep hurt that no one but she knows. It comes from her older sister, Velmora. Velmora is tall, graceful, and praised by all nobles for her striking beauty. But she teases Lyriana endlessly about her small size. When royal guests visit, she laughs and says, "Watch your step. You might crush our queen under your shoe." Lyriana only smiles politely in response, but the words cut deeper than any blade. This cruel teasing has followed her every day since they were small children growing up in the palace. Even as a young girl growing up in the royal court of Velmora, Lyriana shared every grand state dinner with her childhood companion Velmora. Velmora had a strange, quietly cruel little ritual she performed just for Lyriana every time. Velmora would drag Lyriana's tiny wooden chair all the way across the great dining hall to the high table, prop it up on three lumpy, uneven stacks of old leather-bound books just to lean in close. She would whisper, cutting little teasing lines over the clink of silver goblets. "Perhaps one day, you'll finally look like a real queen." She never stopped teasing, repeating the same taunts year after year. "You're too small to rule, too small to lead, too small to be loved." Month after month, these sharp, cruel words sunk deep into Lyriana's heart, sprouting into quiet, gnawing fears she carried everywhere she went. She never let them turn to bitterness, never lashed out at anyone. Instead, she tucked the fears away deep inside, and poured all her free energy into preparing herself to rule. She studied every line of Velmora's ancient laws, sat for hours listening carefully to villagers' worries and pleas, and learned every small detail of ruling the troubled realm. When the old king fell deathly ill, and brutal border raiders threatened to tear the kingdom apart, the entire court finally learned the truth. Velmora needed Lyriana, the small girl who had prepared her whole life to lead well. That year, dark storms swept across Lyriana's realm, tearing apart every flower farm. Drought followed. Rivers shrank to cracked mud, and crops withered. Within months, half the kingdom's villages faced crippling food scarcity. While other nobles locked their gates and slept soundly through the crisis, Lyriana stayed awake, searching for solutions. She pored over ancient yellowed scrolls by guttering candlelight, walked miles to remote huts, and gave away all her treasures to buy grain for the hungry. Her people never saw her cry or break. She held her pain close to keep her people's hope alive, never letting despair show. Only when she wandered alone after dark, far from any watching eyes, did she let her quiet tears fall. One cool evening, while walking beside the half-dry moonlit river, Lyriana heard the sharp clatter of hooves on stone. A royal carriage rumbles to a stop outside the stone gates of Velmora Castle. Young Prince Aeron of Eldoria steps out into the dust. Tiny Queen Lyriana waits, already braced for the usual cruelty. But Aeron does not stare, snicker, or pity her. Instead, he kneels gently in the dust until their eyes meet level. "You must be Queen Lyriana," he says warmly. "I've heard of your kindness across every kingdom." Lyriana blinks in shock. No one has ever spoken to her like that. In the following weeks, Aeron stays to help repair storm-wrecked villages, working right alongside ordinary villagers. Slowly, Lyriana falls deeply in love. She loves how he listens when others speak, how he nurses injured birds back to health, how he treats every person with equal respect. But the more she loves him, the more fear grows in her chest. One night, staring into her mirror, she whispers, "How could someone like him ever truly love someone as small as me?" Her sister Velmora laughs, crushing her confidence further. "A prince may admire your kindness, but no prince dreams of marrying someone who fits in his palm." Lyriana is completely crushed by these cruel words, her worst inner fears confirmed out loud. She pulls away from Aeron, wrapping herself back in the familiar comfort of insecurity. She starts avoiding him at every turn, convinced she is not worthy of his attention or the soft love she has begun to crave. One quiet evening, Lyriana walked beside moonlit river when the clatter of hooves cut through soft night air. A gilded royal carriage stopped nearby, and Prince Aeron stepped out. Lyriana had avoided him for weeks, making excuses to slip away whenever he came near. Aeron had noticed her distance, and finally stopped her near the glowing orchid fields that night. "Have I done something wrong?" he asked softly. Lyriana looked away. "No." "Then why do you run from me?" After a long pause, tears filled her eyes, and she admitted her deepest fear. "I'm tired of pretending my size doesn't matter. I'm too small, everyone talks about it. Even my sister says no one could ever truly love me." Silence fell over the glowing fields. Aeron gently lifted her into his hand, not as someone fragile or lesser, but as someone precious. "When I look at you, I don't see someone small. I see the bravest, most brilliant soul I've ever known. Let them laugh. I'll stay with you." Young Prince Aeron of Eldoria steps out, and Lyriana's heart trembles. "But what if others laugh at us?" she whispers. "Then let them laugh," Aeron replied. "I choose you for your beautiful soul." For the first time in years, Lyriana feels truly seen. Yet, fate has another surprise waiting. Deep in Velmora's forests, lives feared witch Morvessa. Villagers say shadows follow her, and nothing grows where she walks. One brutal winter night, a storm traps villagers in mountains, and Lyriana rides out alone to search. Lyriana gets lost in Morvessa's blackwood. Twisted, gnarled trees loom overhead. Thick mist clings to cold ground, and strange, faint whispers echo all around. She spots a glowing cottage through fog, knocks, and Morvessa opens the door. The witch looks terrifying, but Lyriana only sees deep, endless sadness. When Morvessa asks if she is not afraid, Lyriana notices her cold, shaking hands, steps forward to touch them gently. Warm, golden light fills the cottage. Morvessa freezes in shock. No one has touched her kindly in hundreds of years. For hundreds of lonely years, no one had ever shown kindness to Morvessa. The whole world called her a wicked witch, feared her, avoided her, turned their backs whenever they saw her, until tiny Queen Lyriana stepped forward, unafraid, and reached out to touch the witch's cold hand. A slow, warm tear rolled down Morvessa's lined cheek. "Why would you do this?" the witch whispered. "Because you looked lonely." Lyriana answered honestly. Something hard and bitter deep inside the witch broke, and the raging storm outside instantly went still. Morvessa smiled for the first time in centuries. "You have won the heart of a woman the world calls a monster," she said, raising her staff. "As a gift for your kindness, I grant you 3 wishes." Lyriana asked for her kingdom to never know hunger, then for her jealous sister's heart to be free of poison. Golden light flared, and both wishes were done. Morvessa asked for Lyriana's 3rd wish. The young queen fell quiet. This was her one chance. She could wish to be tall, beautiful, powerful, loved by all who saw her. The witch leaned closer, waiting. Lyriana lifted her chin and smiled softly. "My 3rd wish," she said, "is to always remain exactly as I am." Witch Morvessa leaned over her wooden table, eyes wide. Before her sat Princess Lyriana, no bigger than her thumb. "You still refuse to change your size?" she asked. Lyriana slowly shook her small head. "For years, I thought being small made me worthless," she said. "But those who truly love me never cared. Outside the cottage, wind howled and rain lashed the fogged windows. Suddenly, the oak cottage door slammed open. Prince Aeron stumbled in, cloak soaked through, breath ragged after searching the storm. When he saw Lyriana safe, relief washed over him. Morvessa watched and laughed. Perhaps true magic still exists after all. The storm passed, and months later, Velmora bloomed again. Peace settled over the whole kingdom. Crops grew tall, trade reopened, wild flowers bloomed year-round. Aeron knelt before Queen Lyriana. "Not because you are small," he whispered, "but your heart is the greatest kingdom I have ever known." Her kindness, not her size, made her powerful. Thank you for watching Toon Cartoon. Subscribe for more magical stories.